Welcome to our discussion of preservation of life as a central Jewish tenet. If we look at the share screen here, look at some sources. I want to thank Rabbi Meir Twersky, my son Tani, for pointing me to a lot of different sources. It happens to be this week's parsha, and it's very relevant to this period we live in right now, this COVID virus. V'chai bahem, you should live by them. It's a pasuk, it's a verse at the end of Achrei Mot, at the end of the first of the two parashot. We read this Shabbat. And you should keep my laws and my rules, by the pursuit of which man shall live. I am the Lord. Or the laws which a person should do and live by. So the Gemara in Avodah Zarah 27b says, Rabbi Yishmael Hanimila B'tzina, if you're in private, so then you don't violate the Torah. But if it's in public, if a Gentile asks you to violate the Torah in public, then you would indeed lose your life, give your life for that value, and so as not to desecrate God's name. But the Raisa says, the Tanya Rabbi Yishmael Omer, Rabbi Yishmael used to say, Minayin, how do we know? She'im Omer lo l'adam, if you say to somebody, La'avod avodah chavim al tehareg, she'avod v'al tehareg, that how do we know that if someone says worship idols or you will be killed, that you should rather worship and not be killed, as it says, v'chai bahem, that you should live by them and not that you should die by them. What if it's in public though? No, then it says, v'lo t'chalu et shem chachi, you cannot desecrate God's name in public. That cannot be done. So whether that's the bottom line, usually we say that for idolatry, even in private, but in this particular passage, he's saying if it's in private, it's okay. So there is another opinion, that it's something you live by. It takes you not only into this world, but in the next world as well. Welcome, Alan Goldkin, who's here with us as well. Now, the Vilna Gaon says, what about if you're in public? What if you are totally in public? Would you still live by it and not die by them? No. It says, we have to be sanctified among God's people, so that if there's an opportunity to sanctify God's name in public, among 10 people or more, then you would rather die than violate and desanctify and defile God's name. Now, this may seem like a bit of a midrash. It may seem like it's not exactly what the words are saying. You should live by them. And maybe it's just a nice statement that, the Torah is made to live by. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't die for the Torah. Sometimes you have to, after all, if God says do something, you have to do it. How can you not listen to God? So Rav Yosef B'chor Shor says, no. He says, you know what it means? He says, the simple meaning of the text is like this. Rav Yosef B'chor Shor was a rabbi in France, a little after Rashi. So he says, if you don't follow the Torah, your life could be very short. If you, let's say, you kill someone, God forbid, you steal someone's wife, you steal from them, so then your life could be shortened because after all, someone will come and kill you. So when you, on the contrary, when you follow the Torah, then you will live. Your life won't be shortened. So it's an interesting alternative way to understand this verse. But in any event, classically, it's understood, as we said, that the whole idea is that we live by the Torah, we don't die by the Torah. So much so that the Rambam says in the Laws of Shabbat, chapter 2, when we have to violate Shabbat in order to save a life, don't use the underlink in order to violate Shabbos when you need to violate Shabbos to save a life. Don't use a Gentile, don't use a child, don't ask your wife to do it, don't ask your slave to do it. No. The greatest rabbi, the greatest scholar in the room, he or she, that's the one who should violate Shabbos in order to show this value. You're not allowed to even hesitate when it comes to violating Shabbos for a sick person who's in danger, obviously not for a sniffle, but if someone is in danger, You can't even hesitate. As it quotes that verse from Achrimot, that it's something that a person should do and live by it. Leviticus 18:5. Halamadta she'em shb'gat Torah nekama b'olam. This teaches us that the laws of the Torah are not some sort of vengeance. God wants to get us, so he makes us follow these laws. And then, if we don't follow them, he's going to get us for it. No, it's a rachmi b'chesed. These laws are all kindness, goodness, shalom. It's all for peace. These heretics, say, no, what do you mean you can't boil up water to save someone on Shabbos? You can't drive someone to a hospital on Shabbos. You can't call the hospital, call the doctor. No, you have to die for Shabbos. He says, anyone who says that, you know what you're doing to the Torah? You're making it seem like, says Ezekiel 20:25, you're making it look like the Torah is no good. It's something you can't live by. And that, says the Rambam, is because it's not just a detail of the Torah that, like, all right, so some people think that you have to violate Shabbos in order to save a life. Some people say you shouldn't. So, all right, so they're wrong about that. Or they didn't understand that law. They didn't know that law. But he says, no, it's not just ignorant. It's not just a different opinion. You're a heretic. It's a violation of the entire corpus of the entire Torah. And therefore, you have the Reb Chaim Soloveitchik story. It comes in different form. One form here by the grandson of Rabbi Yosef Dov Soloveitchik, who tells a story about his grandfather, Reb Chaim Soloveitchik. At one time, there was a sick person on Shabbat, and someone told someone else to go boil up some water or something, or turn on the light, whatever it was, and the fellow hesitated, and Rabbi Chaim Soloveitchik says, "Do be it's not because not only are you ignorant, but you're a heretic." So the idea is that the Rambam says very clearly that the person who doesn't understand this is a heretic. He says, Ela Bikorsi, anybody who doesn't understand this is an Apikoros. He's a denier of the basic principle of the Torah. The Rabbi Joseph B. Soloveitchik, my teacher of blessed memory, in the Halachic Man, his book, one of his books, he writes the following: saving a life overrides the commandments of the entire Torah, and he shall live by them and not die by them. Desecrate one Shabbos on his account, so we may keep many Sabbaths. The Gemara in Yuma says a specific thing regarding Shabbos, that of course you should violate Shabbos, because if you violate this Shabbos, then his life will be spared, and then he or she can keep the next Shabbos. So it makes sense that he can keep many Shabbos. So it makes sense. What if he's only going to live for a few days? He's not going to live for next Shabbos? That's also, you still have to live by the Torah anyway. But this is one of the ideas. So he says this law is a watchword of Judaism. It's essential. It's a fundamental. An authority who allows himself to be consulted when a life is in danger is responsible, irreprehensible. And he who consults him rather than speedily acting is a murderer. The Torah, one of the prototypes of the Shulchan Aruch, the Torah says in Orach Chaim 3:28 very clearly that anybody who even allows himself to be consulted, someone's going to call me and say, "Rabbi, someone is about to die. Should I call the hospital?" You idiot! What have I been doing for the last 20 years? Have I not been a good rabbi? I should have told you a million years ago that when is it life in danger, you never call the rabbi. You call 911. You get them to the hospital. You get a doctor. You save their life. You violate Shabbos. How could you not know that? So any rabbi who is even allowed to be consulted, who says, first call me, I'll let you know if it's the right thing to do. No, if you think it's a danger to life, go save the life. Don't ask me. So the Maimonides, master of conciseness, deviated from his regular manner and treated this issue with great elaborateness. In other words, the Rambam that we read before is out of character. When I was studying this with Rabbi Soloveitchik, he mentioned it. This is so strange. The Rambam is obviously very upset about something. He's obviously trying to get this message across to others that this is such an important teaching. Teachings of the Torah do not oppose the law of life and reality. Jews, we don't live in a detached reality. Well, no. For were they to clash with the world, were they to negate the values of concrete, physiological, biological existence, they would certainly not be mercy, loving kindness, and peace, but vengeance and wrath. If the Torah was a Torah that made me die for them every Shabbos or every so often, then that would not be a peaceful Torah. That would be a vengeful Torah. That would be a Torah of wrath. So to even attribute that to the Torah, to make someone think that that's the Torah, that itself is really bad news. Now, Rabbi Twersky points out that there is another element here as well, and that is lo telech rachil b'amecha lo tamod al dam recha, something not from Parshat Achrimot, the first parsha this week, the second parsha, Parshat Kedoshim, chapter 19, lo tamod al dam recha. Excuse me. Don't deal basely with your countrymen. Do not profit by the blood of your fellow. Don't stand idly by the blood of your fellow. In other words, Rashi says, if you see someone who's dying and you could save him, like he's drowning in the river, or the enemies are coming to attack him, you've got to save his life. So the question is, what do you need a special verse that you should live by the Torah? What do you mean? You should always save somebody's life, whether it's your own life or someone else's life. So Rabbi Twersky answers, Twersky was also Rabbi Soloveitchik's grandson, perhaps from the perspective of standing idly by, we would wait till after Shabbos. In other words, okay, some danger. The doctor says, well, we could start the treatment after Shabbos, but it would be good to get started now. So, all right, well, in that case, let's wait till after Shabbos. So we say no. When it comes to Shabbos, it's not Shabbos anymore. We need to get going right now. And that's what the Rambam writes, that if we determine that on Shabbos he needs something for, let's say, 8 days, we don't say, well, why should we start the 8-day treatment now? Let's wait till after Shabbos. No. He says, you do it right now. You could violate 100 Shabbos, because if there's any doubt, we violate the Shabbos. So it's a special halacha. It adds an additional element that we do not allow Shabbos to sort of get in the way in any way of saving a life. The Rabbi Twersky also points out the Gemara in Gittin 59b says, Kol Torah kula nami mimei darki shalom. The whole Torah is about the ways of peace. As we say, we put away the Torah, we sing this song. It's from Mishlei 3:17. Teracheh darchi noam chol netivot shalom. The ways of the Torah are tranquility, and all its ways are peace. If there's any law in the Torah that somehow leads to strife, to death, that's not the way the Torah is supposed to go. Now, of course, sometimes you have to fight for things in order to achieve certain things, but in general, we certainly want to make the Torah a Torah of peace. The Rabbi Twersky, Meir Twersky, was also one of my teachers. He said that the Mishnah Torah, the Rambam in the Laws of Kings, also has something which shows me the centrality of peace within the Torah. Why? Because it says that when you're making a battle in the land of Israel to conquer Israel, even in the days of Moses, Joshua, you have to, according to the Rambam, you always have to ask them for peace. Even if you say, well, these are the 7 nations, we have to wipe them out. So, no. Even for those nations, you have to open up and say, would you like to make peace? We'll make peace with you, and you'll be under our thumb. And so he says, when you come to a city, you should open up with peace. It says in Deuteronomy, Parshat Shoftim, if they made peace and they accepted the 7 laws of Noah, then you don't kill anybody, and you let them live there as long as they follow your rules, etc. So Rabbi Twersky wants to deduce the following. He says, it's not if they said, well, we want to fight with you to the death, but we're going to follow the 7 laws of Noah. We'll be law-abiding citizens. We won't kill anybody. We won't steal from anybody, but we're going to fight you. No, you can't be fighting and follow the Torah. If you follow the Torah, it goes together with being peaceful as well. Some other tertiary issues regarding this question of the significance of life in the Torah. My son Tani Finkelstein asked the question, what if you didn't have a Chai B'hem? He quotes various Tosfot, various students of Rashi who say, what if you didn't have a Chai B'hem? What if you didn't have that verse? What would you have said? So I would say, right? Would you, right? Is there, so would I have said that, well, in order to keep the king, God is the king of the universe, in order to keep his laws, I'll take my life for it. Or would you have not said that? So it's an interesting question. Is there a special thing about Shabbat that's particularly Shabbat goes away? There's no Shabbat if you're trying to save a life. There's something special about Shabbat, or is it more of a general kind of a law? Show that in some sources, it seems like a general kind of law. We'll talk about it in a minute. This idea that, well, violate this Shabbos so you can keep next Shabbos. Could we say that about something else? We say, well, we'll violate the laws of shatnez, so I can wear this nice heavy jacket that has shatnez in it because I'm freezing to death. So then, if I wear this now, then I'll be able to keep the laws of shatnez tomorrow. Is it just that we violate one Shabbos so I can keep another Shabbos, or is it regarding all laws? I think you had Rabbi Yonasan Milanil and some sources that indicated that it's for all laws. And then there's a famous question, which I also studied with Rabbi Salvegi, that is it hutra or dechuya? When we say that you can violate Shabbos for saving a life, does that mean like it's not even Shabbos? Don't even hesitate. Don't ask the Gentile to do it. Don't try to do it with your left elbow. Just do it. That's the Rambam's view. The Ramah, the Moshe Isserles takes a different view, and Rabbi Chaim Salvegi, who very much opposed to this idea, they thought that it's not Shabbos. When it comes to saving a life, it's not Shabbos. But there are those who say, well, look, if the Gentile's standing right there and he could call 911, why should you call 911? But the Rambam says, no, you should call 911, not the Gentile. So there are two views as to how to view this. The source of this idea of saving a life is debated in Yuma 85, and it's in Tosefta, and it's in Mechilta. Mechilta is one of the early sources. Let's take a look. One time, Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Kiva were walking along, and another rabbi, so a couple of other rabbis were walking behind them, and they asked the following question: how do we know that to save a life it pushes off Shabbos? So they give some interesting approaches. They say, if a robber comes to you in the middle of the night, even on Friday night, then you should kill him. So he says, now you don't know that he's trying to kill you, but you don't want to take any chances. If someone comes in the middle of the night, he might be trying to kill you, so you're allowed to shoot. So he says, now murder, which is a terrible thing, God despises murder. It could push off Shabbos. You could kill someone on Shabbos, which is a violation of Shabbos, to save your life. So then certainly, to save your life, it pushes off Shabbos, something like that. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, we know that you're allowed to do a bris on Shabbos, and that's only part of a person, and that pushes off Shabbos. To save your whole body, certainly could push off Shabbos. And Rabbi Kiva said, if avoda yidocha Shabbos, you're allowed to kill an animal, and that pushes off Shabbos. Certainly, to save a life, you could push off Shabbos, something like that. Yosef Glili says, it says, but you should keep Shabbos. In Parshas Kitisa, it says, but you should keep Shabbos. What do you mean, but? But means sometimes. Some Shabbos you keep, and some Shabbos you don't keep. But when you have to save a life, that Shabbos you don't keep. So it especially seems like some of them think it's a special law about Shabbos. Shimon ben Asiyah says, look, it says you should keep the Shabbos because it's holy to you. It's given to you. Shabbos is in your hands. You are not given over in the hands of Shabbos. Shabbos is not going to be your death knell. Shabbos is not going to kill you. Shabbos is there for you. Rabbi Nassan said, "Shomu v'nei Yisrael Shabbos, la'asos Shabbos. Keep Shabbos to do Shabbos. Violate this Shabbos so you can keep next Shabbos." So some of these derivations seem to be more related to specifically regarding Shabbos, but of course it has broader application as well. Or the Tosefta says, "Haloninu mitzvos el lichos." The whole purpose of mitzvos is to live by them and not to die by them. There's nothing that stands in the way of a life, only idolatry, the immorality, and murder. You're not going to murder somebody to save your life. You're not going to worship idols under any circumstance. You're not going to commit acts of immorality, because those things are so severe that I can't even live with myself for that. Shamash Fal Hirsch always says it best. He says, I have a Google Translate here if it's any use to you. Take a look. He says, from the point of view of the halacha, we learn from the words, and you should live by them, that there's nothing that stands in the way of saving a life. you're permitted, and it's even an obligation to violate a sin so that you can save a life. Because it says you should live by them and not die by them. The Gemara in Yuma 85b. And we already explained regarding Shabbos that you should live by them teaches that the first purpose of all the mitzvos is enjoyment and joy and happiness in this world. That's what God wants. That's why we have mitzvos, so we should have a beautiful life. So we understand that a mitzvah can be pushed off in order to save your life, so that your life should be filled and rich in mitzvot. And an exception to this would be idolatry and immorality and murder, because these cannot be pushed off ever. Why? Even to save a life. Why? Because they are the pinnacle of mitzvot between people, between us and God, and between yourself, God and yourself, the person and himself, herself. Therefore, we always say you should die rather than do those three things. But and if they force you to do a sin in public, and they're doing it out of hatred for the Torah, also we have to sanctify God's name. In that case, we don't want to desecrate God's name, even for a small mitzvah, and we have to be killed. So if we ask ourselves a question, this idea that, if you need to go to the hospital on Shabbos, you can get in the car, you can call 911, you can get a doctor. Is this a detail, or is that a fundamental principle? And according to the way the Rambam defined it, and the way the Rabbi Soloveitchik explained it, if you don't understand this, you're not only ignorant, but you're a heretic, someone who denies the most basic principle of Judaism, which is that the Torah is good. Some other religions portray Judaism as a religion in which you're doomed. You're supposed to do all these commandments, but it's very hard to do them, so you're doomed. No, we don't view it that way. We view it the opposite way. That God gave us the Torah so that we would live by them. That our life would be beautiful, enriched. There would be a Torah. There would be Shabbos. There would be enjoyment. So many mitzvahs are related to enjoying the Pesach and Shavuos and Sukkos, and getting our sins atoned for Yom Kippur, and enhancing our lives so that we're not killing and stealing and lying and all these things which we know will not help us live, right? We'll lie, and then someone gets mad at us, and then they kill us. Obviously, living a good, clean life always helps us have a longer life. The whole Torah is designed to have a longer, more fulfilling, more beautiful life. So Rabbi Twersky pointed out that it's very disappointing that recently, some rabbinic groups and some religious Jews seem to have missed this point. And then they say, well, we'll have this kind of minyan and that kind of minyan, and seem to ignore some of the dictates of the CDC and the health officials and the doctors, and they put going to minyan, having a wedding, going to a funeral, they put that above saving a life, and that is not only ignorant, but it's heresy. It's a distortion of the entire Torah. Now, I understand most religious Jews in Israel are completely compliant and can be very proud of our community. Some of the greatest rabbis, Rabbi Herschel Schechter, Rabbi Mordechai Willigan, so many others who are very clear that we are going to follow the principles of the Torah. We're going to save lives. Not going to worry about the minyan. Not going to worry about the Kedusha and the Kaddish. And even on Pesach, we're not going to gather with our grandmothers, and we're just going to save lives. That's what we're going to do. And we can be very proud that our rabbis were crystal clear, because Rabbi Soloveitchik set it forth. The Rambam set it forth hundreds and hundreds of years ago. The Gemara set it forth thousands of years ago. That what? The Torah was very clear from the beginning. The whole Torah is to live by. It's not a detail. It's a fundamental of our faith. So that's our discussion for today. Welcome to join us tonight for our learning. Also at 1:15, if you want, you can go on YouTube. There's a nice minyan for Mariv. You can answer Kaddish and Baruch Hu. You're allowed to answer Amen to a live Kaddish online. You go on YouTube. You can go to the Kotel. If you're interested, just email me and I'll send you the link. And there are you can catch it, certain Mincha, Mariv, Shachrit, you can catch the prayers at the Kotel, and you can catch them. They do have some kind of a minyan. Very careful. They have gloves. They have distancing. So just at the Kotel they have this kind of minyan. I think it's sanctioned by the authorities, and you can join them for that. But in general, It's forbidden. We're not allowing any kind of minions because, again, need to save lives. So thanks for joining us here today. And it's good to see everyone. Welcome to Judah, Diana, and Alan. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Thanks for joining us. Okay, take care, Diana. Take care, Judah. Okay, be well.
Be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Diana. Bye.